Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Fins Faithful podcast. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday. Hope you all had a great day. As always, we're with you guys live on YouTube, so make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe. Jason, we're like 5 or 6 away for 2K. So let's if it's possible, let's try to get there by the end of this show. And always, I love the interaction in the comments, in the chat, and also in the when the video's over, the comments in the video page. It not only helps the channel, but it's kind of fun for us to interact. But well, we got a big show today. On back-to-back, on the second night of a back-to-back on our new series, the Miami Dolphins Discussion series. Yesterday we had Curtis, Ace per head, fantastic guy. It was a fun conversation. Make sure you guys go check that out. But tonight, as I mentioned, we have a big show. We have Big O, Orlando Alzugaray, of course, the host of the Big O radio show, but more importantly, a pillar in the local sports scene here. Nobody knows more than him. Nobody tells it like it is more than him. And he's somebody who I grew up listening to on the AM radio dial, along with him and Hank and Mad Dog and all those guys. So it's an honor to have him on. Jason, I know you're friends with him. I know you're excited about this.
Oh, absolutely. He's a terrific guy to boot from everything that you just said. And what most importantly, as we're on, entering training camp area, he's going to tell it like it is. This is a year that a lot of people are, having the hopium still. There are some people who are like, all right, let's toss this one in. We're going to be right in that truthful middle, and Big O is going to definitely bring it. I'm excited to bring him on up, and it's going to be a fun show.
So without further ado, should we pump him up more or bring him on? Let's bring him on. Welcome, Big O, Orlando Alzugary. How you doing, man? I hope that was a good intro for you. We kind of set the stage.
Appreciate it. Probably don't deserve it, but thank you very much.
You do.
Always looking forward to talking Fins, and even if it's good or bad or indifferent or whatever it is, but it is what it is. We love the team, so yes, we're here. We're ready to go.
That Hall of Fame thing. Did you get that? How did you get that?
That one's for Jason Taylor, right?
Oh,
no,
okay.
no, that's Marino.
Oh,
that's the Marino one. I bought that one when Marino. I bought that one when Marino.
You went to the intro.
I missed Jason. I went to Marino and I went to Zach.
Okay.
When I went to Marino, this is 2005. So this one's from 2005. And then when Zach was inducted, I was looking for this one with Zach and Jason updated on it. And oh no, this one is Jason. That's right. Whoa, no, wait a minute. I got this in Marino. I got this in another visit when I went to go see Genesis in Ohio.
Okay.
I went to also the
Hall of Fame. Yeah.
They had this one with Jason, but when I went for Zach, they didn't have the Zach. That's how.
Okay. You got a nice. I see even some Miami soul back there. Okay, I see you, Big O.
I'm all Miami, dude.
Yeah.
It's all South Florida, Strikers, FC.
Are you reading the comment?
It doesn't matter. It's all, yeah, dude.
The chat's on fire. Kenny says, Big O, Liam Eichenberg's Hall of Fame event. You going to that? Eichenberg.
Yeah, dude, because he's going to be in Hall of Fame. What cannonballs? Okay, and that's the thing. See, you guys are thinking football. I'm thinking cannonball champion. Okay. Great at falling down. You should see him doing cannonballs. Ooh. He's actually fantastic. I think he holds the Guinness Book of World Records. So don't miss the player or the game.
That's on like ESPN3, right? The cannonball competition.
That's it. Cannonball challenge, and I guarantee you, Liam Eichenberg will be the champion right there.
Yeah,
he's got to win something.
By the way, we solved it today on the show. We suggest that Liam Eichenberg, as he runs onto the field, he falls, and so he gets that out of the way, and then hopefully in the play he can stay up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I think that's kind of what it is. He's got to get through it, And then when the play is done, on his way back to the huddle, falls again. Gets back up again. He's ready for the next play. I say he tries that now, but we'll see.
Well, not getting to the Dolphins here, I don't know where to begin. Let's start with the most recent events here. Let's start with Jonnu. First it was, did it come to shock you when you saw that Schefter tweet about did you hear anything about that? Or is this, I guess it was on, now it was off, then on. Is this a leverage play just to get him money for the Dolphins? Or do you think they're really considering moving Jonnu?
This is a deep disease question you're asking me right now.
We started off hot.
Reggie McKenzie left to Tennessee to a rebuilding team. Yeah, it's his hometown. Yeah, he can retire and be a consultant. If he knew this team had a chance to win something, do you think he would have put that off a year or two from now? Because he could probably get that job in a year or two from now, right? Anybody would hire Reggie McKenzie as a consultant, a former general manager. Actually did a pretty good job with the Raiders. He was actually mistreated with the Raiders. Calais Campbell, he was going to the Ravens unless somebody gave him money and Arizona stepped up. He wanted to continue to play, but why didn't he come back here? People left this place and lots of people were happy to leave this place. And that's because the lack of confidence in the building for Mike McDaniel is at an all-time low. And a great example is the Florida Panthers. So the Dolphins 3 years ago, McDaniel takes over, all the hype, boom, man, offense takes off, there's buzz. At the end of the season, was there substance? No. Again, you put up numbers, buzz, at the end of the season, no substance. Now, again, this third season, it really fizzled out, okay? You had a quarterback that was with you for 3 years and you didn't know if he could play. There's a lot of things that are bothering about McDaniel. Every year, he still can't get plays in on time. He still can't win challenges. There's a lot of things that he does that is a detriment to his own team. He can't counter ever, okay? It takes him forever to counter. And you can't do that in this league. You got to count in the next series, the next quarter, the next half. You got to be able to adjust. He cannot adjust. Everybody in the building sees it. And he's trying to be a head coach and an offensive coordinator. And the best of the best can do that. He hasn't ever done either. And so he's overmatched. He can't really get it done. You can't go from good cop to bad cop. That never ever works. And he can't play that game because that's not who he is. It's not in his DNA. Players have completely lost. Kendall Lamb went on to play in Philadelphia. I could just go on and on. If you start to think about it, yeah, Kendall Lamb was thinking of retiring. That's what he tells you because he's in the middle of this. But then when he gets away from it, Philadelphia, yeah, I'll go play there. This is what's going on. And so now you have Jalen Ramsey's like the guy that kind of like brought it out to the forefront. He doesn't have a problem with the front office. He doesn't have a problem with the owners. He doesn't have a problem with his defensive coordinator. He doesn't have a problem with any of the assistant coaches. He only has a problem with one guy. One guy. And then Jonnu Smith is going to be 30 in 3 months. And he's like, shit, sorry. I got to risk my last year for this bum-ass team that ain't going nowhere. And what if I blow my knee? What do I have? You put yourself in his position.
Yeah.
Okay? There's a malaise in that building. And, I know you're going to get to it, and I'll tell you, how do you explain the offseason? When the general manager takes a super conservative and responsible approach. The last thing you do is keep pouring money into that dude. You have your better teams was last year and the year before, and he can't do shit with them. So you expect him to make miracles now? He's not Shula. I know miracle workers. I've seen them. Spo, Shula. I know the dudes that can make chicken salad out of chicken. Okay. I know those dudes. He's not one of them. So what's going on? And they didn't put any more money in him now, the head coach. There's no way you're going to have another bad season and you're going to bring him back. So to me, conspiracy theory, going to throw it out there, they knew they screwed up after the fact that they gave McDaniel the extension. They have now realized the malaise in the building. They are now dealing with it and the repercussions of it, and they're going, holy crap. But they don't want to look like complete buffoons that they now have to fire McDaniel before the season starts and after they've gone through an off season. So they're going to bite the bullet, let the season go, see what McDaniel does, sink or swim, and then you lock Weaver up by the end of the year as your interim coach. And because in the offseason, Miami Dolphin fans in 2026, if you do not lock up Weaver during the regular season, you will not get him in the offseason. He will not come back here. He will go to a place that's better. So if he works magic this year with no secondary and a front seven, now that front seven has to stay healthy, okay, especially the pass rushers. If he works miracles, those jobs lined up for Weaver, because you and I know, I've been covering this team for a long time and watching it my entire life. I haven't seen a candidate like him in a while. I like him. He's a leader of men. He gets it. So I think he's better, and I think they know it.
I like what you say about Weaver, Big O.
How this offseason made sense if both guys' jobs are on the line. It does not. No, it makes sense only if Greer is staying and McDaniel's gone and they move on with Weaver for the continuity and all that stuff. The entire draft was to accommodate Weaver.
Yeah,
It did look that way, especially on the defensive line front. But just to go back to the Smith and the Jalen Ramsey, clearly from what was reported, Ramsey cried, "I want out, trade me." Now, reports have people saying Smith wants to stay if the money's there, if the year's there.
He has to say that. And by the way, he'll stay
if the money's there.
Pay me.
Right.
And he's going to want more from you than someone else. Okay? Why? Because he knows they're not going anywhere, so at least I'm going to get paid. He's telling you. Of course, he has to say, I'm going to be here and Rosenhaus and all that, but that's the dog and pony show. But basically, he's saying, you want me to play for this shitty team? Bro, you better pay me because I'm not going out here about to be 30 in 3 months. And I got $4.5 million. I got no guarantees after that. I blow my knee out and my career's done. Hell's to the no, dude, okay? Tua does something dumb like throwing his body around. He's out for weeks. I got to play with a backup quarterback. And he throws the ball the wrong way and somebody takes out my knee and my career is over. I think I saw Ryan Tannehill do that to somebody. Okay? So you got to protect yourself. It's all dog and pony show to tell you all of that. By the way, Zach Sealer should be next.
Wow.
Severely. Won't be this year, but by the end of the year, you got to pay him again. You better. In fact, the Dolphins better rework that deal at the end of the year. If he doesn't do it right now, which I don't think he's going to do it right now, but think about it. He's severely underpaid. Out of the two guys, you kept the right one. The other guy got injured. And you would have paid him more than double of what you're paying Sealer now. And he's a better player then. So I'd rather have Sealer than Wilkins. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, let me ask you this. How much do we put on Greer? Because I thought I agree with you because
everything falls on Greer because he's the lead guy. I can't argue with that. Yeah. I personally think it's again a very difficult dynamic. The last 5-6 years, tell me who's done a better job bringing talent in and out of this place.
You mean for a while? You mean
for the last 30 years?
Here's my thought on Greer. Yeah,
he's done a phenomenal job.
I don't know.
Guess what the bugaboo has been? It's all your changes of coaches, bro. You change philosophies. On one coach, you kept changing offensive philosophies and coaches every year with quarterback coaches, offensive line, and offensive coordinators. You couldn't find one. This guy has now on his 4th defensive coordinator, which then affects what decisions you make, what players you want to keep, because then you got to appease one coach to another. And then that becomes another cancer for your team. And then that's been our cycle. If you get back and you come out from 35,000 feet and you start looking at our history, all they keep doing is changing one administration after another, kind of like something else that happens in our country. Anyway, and everybody has different ideas and different ways. Well, guess what? This is what I talked about on my show, and since you listen, you might have picked up on this. We have to change our ways as the Miami Dolphins. You have to say, like the Baltimore Ravens, like the Pittsburgh Steelers, like the Green Bay Packers, like the Kansas City Chiefs, like San Francisco 49ers now. We don't care who you are, what coach you are. This is who we are, and then our coaches are going to fit these kind of systems, attitude, the way we play, and then that way our players, we can't make them interchangeable. You can't go 3-4 to 4-3, and then you want to do a combination, and then you want zone guys or you want man-on-man guys, and then everything freaking changes every year. And now you want to be a run-oriented team, and then you want to be a pass-oriented team, and it's a freaking disaster. And so you cannot keep doing that. And so the bugaboo that's happening right now is the constant changing of coaches and the changing of your identity. Find a goddamn identity and stay with it. Shula screwed up. Let's go 35,000 feet. In the 70s, he did it just like Philadelphia.
Okay, I haven't thought. Here's my push.
70s, he did it like the Redskins. You know what Philadelphia's done? They've made the quarterback and the head coach interchangeable.
They built a roster around them that you can plug and play. If you have to make a change,
doesn't give a shit who you are. I'm going to give you a roster that can win because they win at the line of scrimmage. The Washington Redskins won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different QBs that can only buy tickets to the Hall of Fame. They'll never be in there. They can go watch Marino. They can go watch all the other guys, Montana, everybody else, but they'll never be there. But Joe Gibbs made an interchangeable team, but he wanted the line of scrimmage. Offense, defense, every damn year. The Hogs, they dominated. That makes the life easy. This year, Jalen Hurts won the Super Bowl. Tua benched his ass and made him move to another state. Why? Because all he needed was a passer. He's got the lines. He's got the defense. He's got the receivers. I just need a passer. What the hell is Tua? He's a great passer. He's not an athlete. Now, if you're going to run Philadelphia's offense, you need an athlete. He won the Super Bowl with 220 yards. Greasy won the Super Bowl by throwing 7 passes. Shula lost his identity. He stopped dominating on the offense and defensive lines during the Marino era and on, and that's why you didn't win shit. That's why when you ended up taking on San Francisco, you got embarrassed. Washington, you got embarrassed. The Bills in the early 90s, you got embarrassed. Why? Because they were bigger, tougher, stronger, and they beat you every time. Dolphins think that it's only now that they didn't win on the West Coast, or they don't get to the playoffs, or they don't win big games, or they choke in big moments, or all that. That's been going on for 40 years, and Don Shula started it with a finesse offense with my favorite player of all time. He didn't give him a running game. He didn't give him a dominant line. He gave him 2 guys, Richmond, Webb, and Sims. That's it. He didn't have anything special on the right side. He didn't have a dominant running game that could complement this guy. And they didn't give him a defense. The defense went out there and allowed as many points as he could score. Can't win that way. So, identity. The Green Bay Packers don't care who you are. We're drafting you and you're sitting behind the quarterback. That's their identity. No matter who's the GM, no matter who the quarterback is, they run their West Coast offense. It's who they are. Identity. Find it. Stick to it. Stay with it so you can draft the players that belong in it on a consistent basis. And the coaches that don't get the job done, find the guys that fit the same kind of system. This is who we are. You don't want to be who we are? Get the hell out of this door. And that's why the Dolphins lost their way. The Panthers were a bunch of... 5 years ago, I used to use the Meow Mix song for you youngins, where there was a cat food called Meow Mix. And the tune was meow, 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 meow. Why? Because the Florida Panthers were absolute wussies. I'd like to use the other letter. Okay? Pushed around, always. They never could do anything when they got to the playoffs. Soft, like the Dolphins for 40 years. Why? Because they don't have the Larry Littles anymore, dude. They don't have the Jim Langers anymore. They don't have the guys that dominate on the line on a consistent basis. Tom Brady's a statue. Drew Brees is a statue. They all win. Greasy could scramble a little bit, but still, Tua can win. But you got to do what Alabama did. Build the damn line in front of the guy. And then give him a defense too. I heard the other day some guy say, oh, Tua needs a perfect team. No, dude. No. He needs what Tannehill had for 4 years in Tennessee. Give him what Philadelphia has right now. Give him what the Vikings have been the last 3 years. Just give him that, and I bet you can win a Super Bowl. Does he have that here in Miami? No, he doesn't. Did he have it in Alabama? Yeah. He doesn't need the perfect team. He just needs a real team. We don't have one here. Go ahead, guys.
So, I agree with all your points you just said. The thing with I'll push back on Grier is, look, you said it best, the identity. They tried let's build the rebuild, all the draft picks. We're going to accumulate picks. I thought they got off that train too early, Big O. And then they went to the trading Tyreek Hill, finding every veteran who's available in the trade market, Ramsey, Chubb. And I thought they
shouldn't have signed Tyreek Hill. That was the mistake.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have guaranteed them this year. That was the stupid move.
We'll get to that part.
Listen, all of you that want to fire Grier, I can't argue. All I know is I don't know who's coming next, but the next person isn't going to be as good as he is finding talent.
Right. But
I think you just got to what you need is maybe a team president that can handle that other part.
Yeah. I think the thing with Grier is they kind of switched up. They failed on both parts. They tried to be a rebuilding team, and they tried to be the Rams. It didn't work either one, whether it's the injuries or whatever you say. But I do think at some point, him being the general manager, he's got to say, hey, Mike, you don't think we need the interior offensive line? We want this fast, small receiver. He's got to say, hey, I think this is what Tua needs best. He's got to step in and have conviction, and he can't just always do what the coach do, because at the end of the day, he's the general manager of the team. He's paid. Yeah, that's my thing with him. I think he's okay.
The draft this year is exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, this draft was a year one rebuild draft. If you would have done this, we do draft stuff, me and Jason, all the time. We broke down a bunch of players, and these are the two guys that we identified early on because I thought they kind of killed that label, soft label that it's true, right? I mean, they were soft. But my point is I agree with a lot of what you say, but at some point, where's the power moves? Where's the conviction? And it's probably what's kept him here a long time. He can always go, hey, Mike, hey, Mr. Ross, this is what Mike wanted. This is what Flo wanted, yeah.
I got no defense there.
Yeah. So that's my only thing. I think Chris Grier is a solid GM. He's not spectacular. He's not horrible. I think you're going to have a floor with him. I think Tua gives you a floor. And I think even how bad everybody thinks his season is, a healthy Tua, I don't know if you agree, is going to give you an 8-9 win floor. Like, to me, he gives you a floor. Yeah, but I'm saying is you're not going to bottom out. That's my point. You're not going to bottom out. You're going to be in the middle again.
You're spinning wheels, dude. It's the same thing they've been forever.
Right. It's my point exactly.
Either barely get in or they're barely out. And you're only going to win 8 or 9 games because you can't run the ball, because you can't punch somebody in the mouth, because your defense can't dominate the opponent on the other side. Has nothing to do with Tua. He's already led the league in passing yards, touchdowns, and completion percentage. I mean, I don't know what more the kid has to prove. The one thing that it pisses me off about him is his stupidity thinking he's an athlete. And he's got to understand that he's a statue like Marino, like Brady, like Breeze. Just sit, bro. You're a specialist. You're not an athlete. Marino wasn't an athlete. Okay? Nothing about Breeze as an athlete. They're passers. That's all they are. That's all Joe Montana was. Joe Montana too. He could roll out a little, but Joe Namath, whatever. A lot of these guys, they're not there to win with their legs. They can boot and waggle a little bit for you if you want. You want to change the launch point. You can win with all these guys, but what do all those guys have? What did Tom Brady have? He had Dante Scarnecchia, one of the 3 best offensive line coaches in the history of the NFL. So, yeah, the greatest QB had one of the greatest offensive line coaches ever.
Yeah.
It would be irresponsible not to do that. And so that's what you're supposed to do for your great quarterbacks. Go look at the all-pro line that Joe Montana had. You think he won 4 Super Bowls by himself? No, dude. Go look at the defense that they had. It's underrated how good that defense was with San Francisco. You win with a team. And that's the problem here. We don't build teams. Marino never had a team. So you're on a wild card and you just hope you get on a roll. And as much as I love Tua as a passer, he's not Marino, bro.
Ooh.
Marino is a freak.
Different, yeah.
He's a once-in-a-lifetimer, and we screwed it up, okay? We mismanaged everything around Marino. And we've been mismanaging for 40 years. But this dude can find talent.
That's the point. But he can find talent, and this is what I circled, and I wanted to say this, and this is my problem with Chris Grier. I like the talent that he finds. I have trouble to understand why he lets certain talent go. So it's not the finding that bothers me. Everybody's going to miss on a 3rd or a 4th or a 5th round pick here or there, sprinkled around a decade of general manager job.
Yeah.
But the poker game of him folding hands and not putting the chips in sooner. I mean, I agree with you that Zach Sealer is a better player at this exact moment in time than Christian Wilkins. But if they offered more money a year prior, maybe you keep this tandem together still, and they're still both getting better.
That's where you and I are going to disagree. I wouldn't have paid Christian Wilkins anyways.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Big O. I'm with you on that.
Go look at his 9 sacks that he had with Miami. They were all against shitty teams, and he had multiple sacks against shitty teams.
I liked him last year that he bet on himself. 2 years ago.
I would never pay Wilkins that. I would pay him Sealer money, and I would pay Sealer Wilkins money.
But we go to players, and this is the definition of almost insanity that I think someone put in the chat with the repeating the process. You let an offensive lineman go. You have a horrible offensive line. You let a pass rusher go. You lose your sacks. You don't take care of the safety. You have the worst safety league. It's unbelievable.
We all wanted tough guards. Well, we had one of the best in Rob Hunt, right? But we have this finesse coach that thinks he can coach any guard up and make them anything. So they like to, in his system, they like to invest in the tackles, and that the guards are transitory or some shit like that. And that's just not the case. Drew Brees, okay, the statue I talked about, go look at his offensive lines. His guards and his centers were always elite. Why? Shorter quarterbacks, you want to control the pocket and create passing lanes because they can't see over. They need to see in between. So you need big, strong, tough dudes in the middle that can move the pocket. So find guys that are big and physical and that can also move to the second level. But if you're only worried about athletic people and not the power they bring, then unfortunately you're drafting the wrong people. And this is why they have failed. And again, identity. Do you want to be this finesse bullshit that didn't work for Marino and didn't work now? Or do you want to get back to the meat of the matter of being able to punch somebody in the mouth and get 4 yards whenever the heck you want to get it? Yes. That, to me, is the most important factor for the Miami Dolphins. You do that, linebacker can't cheat, safety can't cheat. Now you got to bring them in the box. And now Tua's even more dangerous now because that's when he becomes what you really need him. But without that running game and without blocking, You're just asking him to be a miracle worker. And I don't know why Mike McDaniel, the running coordinator, hasn't figured that out.
Well, you make a great point with the whole physical up front and the kind of running the football. This draft, I thought we talked about it. They kind of tried to go big and girthy up front. They just didn't want to go big. They wanted wide and big and physical. What were your thoughts on the rookie class? Did you like this draft? I know there was a gap in between, but the first two picks, I love the first two picks. I thought it was a tone-setting attitude sort of draft. Big O, I wish they would have done this earlier in the process,
Actually, what you're supposed to do is do it every year. That's what Philadelphia does. Philadelphia drafts fat people every year. Every year. They got guys on the O and the D line. They don't stop. They lost the center and plugged in just another guy. And you're like, what the heck? Come on.
It's crazy, yeah.
Okay, so that because they care. They understand. They got 2 championships. Dominate the line. Dude, football hasn't changed since I was a kid. Nothing's changed. There was passing back in the 60s. The AFL brought the passing in there. Sid Gilman and
Look
all
at the Super Bowls.
And they opened it up to do a lot of everything that they do now. They were doing back in the 60s.
Name a Super Bowl team that's not good at the line of scrimmage.
You won't find a winner.
You won't find one. Yeah.
You won't find one. You'll get an upstart that gets there.
Aberration, yeah.
But you won't win it.
Yeah.
You get there like the Patriots, and then you're going to get embarrassed by the Bears because they're going to kick your butt at the line. And that's the problem. And so that's the only way you win. And our team never gets over the hump, no matter who the quarterback is, no matter who the coach is. And that's the other thing. We've tried the Hall of Fame coach. We've tried the veteran coach. We've tried the great college coach. We've tried the up-and-coming offensive coordinator, the up-and-coming defensive coordinator. We've tried everything. But we still don't do the right thing. We don't build the offensive and defensive lines and draft fat, big, physical men every single year. And that's what you have to do.
I'm 1,000% in the build from the inside out mindset. It was almost like what Bill Parcells would preach, and look at that success rate, not in Miami, but overall. But in this draft class of this year's rookies, and let's expand on it because you said that you like this or love this class, you hear leadership. There's obviously the inside presence from Kenneth Grant, Jonas Savaiane, and the other defensive linemen that they drafted in Phillips and Biggers. But I keep on hearing work ethic, professionalism, leadership. Is that what you're hearing down there? Have you been seeing it from what you?
Oh, I'm not seeing. I'm not going this year. I'm not going to go. I'm not wasting my time going to camp.
Wow.
This year. I'm just not. Anyway, you don't really see much there in mini camps. They don't really hit like you need, and it's to me, I don't buy a lot of the stuff that's going on in mini camp. They're doing what they desperately need. They needed to change their attitude.
Right.
And we all know that. But the problem is that just doesn't happen overnight. It didn't happen for the Panthers overnight either. That's going to take some time. Okay. And that's what I just told you earlier in the conversation. The offseason was handled like the general manager knows he's staying and the head coach is gone. You have the worst team he's had in 3 years.
Somebody's staying. Somebody's
never gotten better at coach.
Yeah.
So it's insanity to expect better results right now. Absolute insanity. And now you have an injection of a whole bunch of young guys and you're asking them to be your leaders. They can be leaders in their attitude, but they don't have the experience. They won't be physical enough by the end of the year. They'll be wearing out and hitting walls. And it's unfair by all of us to put the weight of the world on Grant or on Savaiane or everybody else, because those people are young and they're going to make mistakes. Austin Jackson now is not the player he was the first couple of years. So, you just sometimes this is a crazy thing that's going on. You know how much leadership walked out that door? You just don't replace that, man. You just don't replace that.
So is this a pure rebuild? Like, are you going to use the word rebuild, or are you going to use any other fun word or amalgamation of this? Yeah. Is this a rebuild?
I call it a transition year. That's what I call it. They're transitioning to their next coach. is what I think happened
with
behind
the same GM, right?
By the way, if Greer survives, this tells me McDaniel was not his pick. And he was just a good soldier going along with it. If he falters and goes with McDaniel at the end of the year, because this year will not be good.
It was.
Then you know what happened. Then obviously it was his decision. But I can tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have a good season with Mike McDaniel, how in the world, if you're Stephen Ross, do you have the guts to bring him back in 2026? There is no way the fan base will ever deal with that if there's another failure this year by Mike McDaniel. So if you didn't prepare the team to compete with the Bills and you're not really going to make the playoffs, you guys can call it a rebuilding year, but maybe behind the scenes, they're looking at it, well, hey, we've invested enough in this guy. Let's let him sink or swim. We don't want to look like idiots. We just gave him a new contract. And we fire him right now, we're going to look really stupid. We'll look justified if we fire him in week 7 or 8 or 9 when the season's off the rails, and then we bring in Weaver. This gives us a chance to look him over. This gives him a chance to get to know the roster. This gives us a chance to lock in our best candidate next year, because we will not be the pick of the litter for coaches in any offseason anymore. And they're not. Check out the line of coaches that have come and gone. Any of them had success after they leave here? Any head coaches? None.
None. As head coaches, right?
Campbell was
Campbell was an interim coach.
Right. That's the only one I can think of.
The 1,000th time when he was here, he was not ready. He went to Sean Payton for 5 years, whatever, and then he got maturated and ready for the. None of our coaches can.
No, the field. No.
So let's get our shit straight. If you hired Campbell at that moment, he would have failed, and they would have fired him. So stop with that buffoonery out there that any of you think that Dan Campbell was the answer at that moment.
Right.
Okay. And by the way, he still looks like a tin cup head coach to me. And if you haven't watched the movie Tin Cup,
great movie.
Well, he's the
underrated movie. Not great, underrated.
If I had to pick a golfer from Tin Cup, it's Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
Okay? You'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I want to shout out to everybody in the chat. All your comments, we appreciate you guys. We're live with Big O, host of the Big O radio show. You guys know him, Orlando Alzugary. We're talking, Big O's letting it off his chest. I'm sure if you guys hear his show, this is nothing new. Big O, I want to get to Weaver, but first, you made a great point. And I kind of want to this transition year, you call it. Look, it's year 1 of the quarterback money hits the books. All teams have to do this. The Rams had to do it. The Chiefs had to do it. Difference is that those teams won Super Bowl, so it makes it look a little less messy. But you mentioned Weaver. I heard him talk. Was interviewed. He's just. I feel bad for Mike because you got this guy in the building. Is a leader of men. He's an alpha. He's exactly what this team needs. And honestly, the things you said at the top of the show, Jason can tell you. I reference the Panthers all the time. Second year, what was that? They went to the playoffs, high-flying team, fired the coach, traded Huberdeau. That's where I want to be Greer to be more aggressive and kind of not be afraid to make that move and that change and stop listening to the coaches. That's the only part. Yeah. Would you agree about? But Weaver.
I hope they develop some kind of direction.
Yeah. Yes. And I think this was a Chris Greer draft. I think this was a Chris Greer draft. I think this is what a Chris Greer draft looks like. I said that.
Use something else. Okay. Why
I love it.
This offseason, like I told you,
Greer
handled it like a responsible general manager because he could not throw more money because then it would whack the cap even more and more pain down the line. So he made a very responsible draft, and even the 4th round pick for a 3rd rounder. That's a great trade. It sucks right now because
next April,
but it's actually a better trade and then as a head coach, if his job's on the line, well, he's looking around going, yo, you guys left me less groceries to shop with. So, but he's kind of created this. Yeah. Okay. So now let me run through the history of Chris Greer.
For it.
Okay. So Chris Greer comes from the Parcells tree, where his father worked for Parcells and for Belichick. His father also had the influence in the pick for Tom Brady. Okay. So he worked for Belichick. His dad, his brother is a hockey player. He's a general manager, I believe, for the Sharks.
Sharks, yep.
Tough guy. Okay. So all he's been around is hard asses his entire life. He gets the job finally as general manager. The first thing he does is hire a hard ass. Everything about him has been about hard asses. And then all of a sudden, Mike McDaniel comes into the picture, which does not go with anything in his history or DNA or the people he's ever dealt with. And again, he's the Mr. Easygoing guy that works with everybody. And, you know, the late, great Jim Mandich used to have a saying, I put it to my nosey and it don't smell so rosy.
Oh, I love Mandich.
When you put this offseason together, wait a minute. I thought their jobs were on the line. What is that, a general manager that his job's on the line?
No.
Chris, your job's on the line. The only guys I've ever seen with jobs on the line are trading future picks. They're signing more, all that.
Free agent signings.
The more Shula panicked, the more he did and buried us in the cap in the beginning of the days. The more Wanstead panicked, he buried us more in the cap. It's gone on in history. Ndamukong Suh, Tyreek Hill, when they cut in Ndamukong Suh, it was a $13 and $19 million dead cap hit. Those 2 years, you had that hole that you couldn't get players with. You know what I mean? You had to eat some money to trade Tyreek Hill. Okay? So, you know, this is not the first time. This has happened to the Dolphins over the years. So if both their jobs are on the line, then how does Chris do this in this offseason? Or did they finally have some kind of come to Jesus behind the scene, owner, president? Oh man, we're sorry. You know, we thought this guy would work. We appreciate you working with him. Let's try to manage this offseason where we can kind of move on, you know, and that's what it looks like. I mean, how do you tell Jonnu Smith, you want a contract? Let's call the Steelers. Wait a minute. Don't you want to keep the guy, whether it's Mike McDaniel or the next coach? I mean, he's a damn good player. He's 29, he'll be 30. You could probably get, I would say, 2-3 years out of him. So you don't want to sign a good pass catching tight end. You're going to count on Julian Hill and Tanner Connor. Oh, okay. Okay. Did they tell you they were tanking that first year? They tried to tell Flo. He just didn't want to listen. It's not the first time they try this too. To tank without telling you. But everything they're doing doesn't tell you they're trying to win.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're the head coach, you're in your 4th year, I believe now, right? This is the worst team you've had. Isn't it supposed to get better, not worse? Again, none of this makes any sense to me.
Yeah, their words versus their actions are just, you know, in the chat.
I'm glad you said that, George, because, you know, you hear McDaniel say, you know, we're trying to win, you know, but we're also looking for leadership. Then you're trading guys who help you win, who are leaders. I'm not buying it. And, you know, I went into the show knowing this was going to be a big dose of truth as opposed to the hopium. And, you know,
I'm out of hopium, Jason.
I'm out of the hopium, too.
I've run out of hopium.
It's not like it's even hopium anymore for the season.
I got the hopium every week. I hope they win, but
well, right. But I am hoping, and I hate the word like development in this kind of situation, but it would be nice to see an identity actually be proven on the field with tougher play inside, with an absolute travel on the road, cold weather. We don't care. You know we're going to run up the middle or on the A gap or B gap for a yard. Stop us. You can't. Until we get to that level, I don't think I could really dish out the hopium right
Jason,
now.
I think they started it this offseason. This is why I love this draft. And the thing is, we couldn't run the ball with 4. You know this. They're playing the quarter, they're cover 2. That's nothing new. But you know what the difference is? We couldn't run the ball with 4 or 5 man boxes. You watch all 22. There's 4 men. There's the linebackers are all, and you can't get a yard. You get a -1 yard. And some of it's the running backs. Look, the running backs didn't break many tackles last year. But I think that's the problem. The identity on the offense too. And you make an excellent point that made me think. Is that if it doesn't make sense to bring Greer back to hire another coach and do this again, unless, like you said, and I never thought of this. It wasn't his idea. This was they pushed it on him, and now he's like, hey, guys, I'm doing it my way. I'm getting criticized. My wife's getting criticized when she goes to Publix. No. We're doing the draft my way. We're doing it this way. And if this guy can't do it, we'll find somebody else who can. Then I'll buy it. I'll buy the Greer. If that's truly what happened, I'll buy it. But that's a thought I never thought of.
I don't know if we'll ever find out because they're not
I know. But that's a great thought I never thought of. So kudos to you. And I never thought of that. But then
just McDaniel doesn't fit anything in his history.
Yeah.
Nothing whatsoever in his history does it fit.
Yeah. No, it's speaking of Tyreek, I want to talk about Tyreek for a second because I don't know what I think I know your opinion. I'm not sure, but everybody knows mine is I thought this guy should have been gone a while ago. They should learn from the Jimmy Butler stuff. Now he's not Jimmy Butler. This stuff doesn't go away, right? This guy, this is not new for Tyreek. Tyreek came out of college with this stuff. And these little incidents, these are me guys. So when they start losing a little bit, when they're quite not as good, and the play on the field's not going to be the one thing that's talked about, they're going to have to be talked about. So they're going to create it, right? So that's what's grabbed. It's like with Antonio Brown. When he didn't have it, he's got to feel the attention. He's doing that this offseason. It's only going to get worse. This is not going to change. I don't know why people think because he went down to 183 pounds or he speaks in a press conference to tell you all the – yeah, I agree. I think he lies through his teeth, and I think what he does is in the law – I'm tired of hearing – I've heard this. In the law, in the building, he's great. He's great in the – I don't care what he does in the building. He's your best player in your team, and the perception that he gives your franchise is just one red flag after another red flag. Where are you at on Tyreek? I think I know you wanted to, if I remember correctly, you also thought they should get rid of him earlier.
Last year.
Yeah.
I said not to
trade deadline. Yeah, for me it was the trade deadline.
But I also look, man, on my show, I have a tendency of telling you things you don't want to hear. For the last years, I've told people Bam's not a star and neither is Tyler. Yet I got killed.
Spot on, big old spot on.
Killed. 3-4 years later, everybody's now like, okay, yeah, you're right. He's not a star. A few years back when X had the 10 interceptions.
Yeah, I remember that.
I said, trade him now. Dolphin Nation lost their mind. I'm a bad person. I'm a bad Dolphin, this, that. He had 7 interceptions for the next 3 years. And so you have to learn how to get off the gravy train. And whether it's the Heat or the Dolphins, they've done a bad job of that because they've been intoxicated. And in this case, it was the head coach that got Tyreek that money. And then a lot of you are guilty because you all wanted X back after the 10 interceptions. You all wanted Jimmy Butler back after the last trip to the championship. Guess what I said? Trade Jimmy Butler now so you can get 4 or 5 first rounders, because in this world, the only way to get in the NBA as star is to have multiple picks. Guess what the Heat did? They gave him an extension, and it was the worst decision of their lives because he started to take it all off.
Yeah.
Take plays, take games off for a couple of years, and it ended up becoming a disaster, and then his value died. X, you hung on him too long, his value died. Now Tyreek, his value is dead, and now he screwed you. Because now he's screwing up so much that he also is untradeable until the deadline of the trading deadline this year. Because by that point, you'll know if you're really competitive for a playoff position or not, and you know you're cutting him at the end of the year after you made a mistake of guaranteeing him the money. But many of you killed me because Tyreek had back-to-back 1,700 yards. and you're prisoners of the moment. You know, you watch the Patriots when they were on their roll. One of the best things that they did that kept them on a roll, they traded players at their peak. Seymour, you're gone. Doesn't matter. Mankins, you're gone. Whatever. It doesn't matter who you were, bro. When he thought you were at your peak and before you hit your slope, oh, you're out of here. I'm going to get something for you. And so Pat Riley screwed up his team, not getting off of Butler 3 years ago. The Dolphins screwed up not trading X after 10 interceptions because somebody would have given you something for that headache at that moment because they would have thought, oh, we're an X away. The guy just comes off 10 interceptions. You hung on to a guy that has a whole bunch of injuries, a bunch of problems off the field, and you paid the price for it. Now you hung on to this clown who, from the second you signed him, he did all kinds of stuff. And again, I got killed because everybody on the peer scene, he just smacked him in the head. No, idiot. His friend had to stop him from attacking him once. A group of 4 or 5 had to stop him from attacking him the second time. What do you think happens to that angry man if those guys and that family members aren't there to stop Tyreek attacking the guy on the pier? Do you think it just becomes a smack? He's obviously a problem child. And it's been proven. By the way, an IG model is playing football in your backyard. Where are all the phones? Where are all the phones? I want to know, where are all the phones?
Oh, man. He's something else, that dude.
Come on. Interesting.
Oh, man. We got to clip that.
As tough as it is to segue from that exactly. But if we're looking at this, you're right.
Guy, and it was a stupid thing to guarantee him this year.
I agree.
And that falls on Greer. Let me tell you a little thing that I've said on the show.
Oh,
they weren't.
Okay.
The front office was not paying him. They were dead set on it. Somebody talked him into it. Guess who the softie that talked him into it?
Is his first name start with the same as a fast food chain?
But the front office has to fall on the sword because they did it anyway.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have, and a lot of you would have made the same mistake, by the way.
Well, it's another fact that he doesn't want to adjust.
No, pay him. We need him. Pay him. We need him. No. You need him motivated. Don't pay him. Don't pay him. Oh, and the problem is this soft organization and soft coach, instead of keeping the carrot dangling for the next year, no, you pay him now, and then you pay Butler, and they got nothing to play for. There's no motivation. They can do whatever the hell they want. And so on 3rd and 16 against the Green Bay Packers, he'll walk off the field and take a breather. I've never heard of that in my life. That becomes normal now. By the way, do DBs take plays off? Does Zach Sealer take plays off?
Absolutely not.
I think Wilkins played all 4 downs with Sealer. I think the offensive linemen don't come off the field, and they're pushing 300 pounds off each other. But with Tyreek and then Waddle, who's also picking up these bad habits, on 3rd and 16 against the Green Bay Packers, both of them walk off the field, and they put 2 idiots in there. And Tua hits one of them, and he drops it. And on the next play, he throws to the other idiot who runs the wrong route. And your soft-ass coach looked up off the card and had no idea that Waddle and Tyreek had walked off the field to take a breather. Did you know that?
Yeah.
He had no idea.
And
you're going to come off the field on Jimmy Johnson
Jalen
or on Shuma. Bro, and Clayton and Duper or Irving Fryer or O.J. McDuffie or Oronde Gadsden, they want to be there on 3rd and 16. In fact, they're in the huddle going, you better throw me the damn ball.
100%.
Yeah. And I'm not buying. You said it earlier. I'm not buying. You can't. He's a substitute teacher. You can't all of a sudden become the ultimate players coach and then all of a sudden command discipline. It's not going to work. They're not going to respect you. You just can't. You came in. Here's my line. They hired him to be the head coach of Tua Tagovailoa. not the Miami Dolphins. Now he's got to cross the line of scrimmage and become a head coach and a leader of men. He's just not capable of it. And the guy in the building.
And that's why a lot of veterans are gone, because he can't handle.
Yeah, all we're talking about is players leaving. That's all we're talking about. Yeah.
They know he's a fraud.
Yeah.
So now bringing young guys don't know any better, and maybe they don't know any better from, because whatever. By the way, you ever notice that when they meet our coach, talk about Dolphin coach, what's the adjective they describe him every time? It's funny.
Funny. I don't find him. I never found him funny. I never found him funny.
I really want my coach to be known to be funny.
And he's not even funny.
He's got a quirkiness to him. You can like it, you can love it, you can hate it.
How real is that?
But it's not. It's not an authoritative football general who could lead men to battle, and that's. I think we all know that now. So when we're looking at the schedule, and you know that there's a game across the pond over in Spain, at the end of this game, they could be 3-8, worse. When you're looking at the schedule, do you have a number in mind? Do you see the tough spots leading into a midseason firing? Where do you see the schedule?
Jason, I never play the schedule game, because you never really can predict where a team is at, how they're going to be, if they're going to be good, if they're bad, or if they're injured or whatever, or you're injured or what. And the dynamics change from week to week. So I don't get into that. What I will tell you is I don't think we're going to the playoffs, and that's it. And to me, if we're not winning games in the playoffs, we're nowhere. That's the way I look at it. We're absolutely nowhere. Okay? That's all.
This mediocrity has been like purgatory, but it's like hell.
Can I give you and Jason, I'm going to piggyback off of what you said. Here's how I'm looking at the season. I'm not expecting playoffs. I'm not expecting anything special. If this is the 2003 Marlins and they want to surprise me, so be it. Let's go. I'm all for it. All right. I've been in the surprise seasons before. That'll be great. When the Canes won that first season in '83, you think any of us thought they were going to be facing Nebraska at the end? No. So I'm all for it. I'm a Dolphins fan. I'm a suffering Dolphins fan. I'm all for it. But for me, this season is about transition. So I'm hoping that now Savanaya, I'm hoping Daniels, that these 5 guys form a line this year. I'm hoping that Grant and Sealer and the boys start to form a nice defensive tackle tandem. I know that in the future you're probably parting ways with Chubb after this season, so it's probably Phillips and Chop moving for the future. But I'd like to see both guys have great years, stay healthy, and be really positive going into 2026. You know what I'm saying? I'd like to see some of the other guys that you drafted or undrafted or whatever hopefully develop and become some core players. That's the way I'm looking at the season. I'm going to hope that some of the players that are on this team improve, guys that are building blocks for the future. That's the way I'm going to look at this season. I'm going to look for small victories along the way. I'm not going anywhere. It's not like I'm changing teams or anything like that. So I can't do anything. So I got to kind of reprogram myself and kind of look at things in a different way. And that's just the way. If you want to surprise me, and if two of you want to stop being stupid and throwing your body around and thinking you can tackle people or take on tacklers, and you want to just stay in the pocket and make a living, I'm going to love that, bro. I'm going to really enjoy if you can do that. If that happens, if you can develop a running game, dude, I'm going to love it. It's going to be fantastic. But that's the way I got to look at this season.
We're right on the money with you. Develop the tone and the identity of this team where you're more physical. You start to running the ball. 2-1 play action. Listen, I don't entertain people with this Tua stuff. Tua is an top 10 to 12 quarterback in this league for me. Easy. And now the injuries and durability is a concern, and that leaves you the outlook on the future is how much more is he going to go. But I don't entertain this stuff. Do I have questions about the ceiling and if end of the year against really good defenses? Yeah, but you know how hard it is to find a passer like Tua Tagovailoa. It's very hard. And in these drafts coming up, you're not going to find one like him.
I'm sorry, I must have missed it. Who's the quarterback that the Dolphins had that was winning in the postseason and winning in the winter?
Zero.
I must have missed it. Who's Marino, going on? Marino didn't do it either. I'm sorry, I must have missed that. I love when they tell me that. Just like the stupid thing. Oh, he needs a perfect. No,
Yeah,
dude.
no. The question with Tua is good. That's not the problem. The question is if he's going to stay healthy. Yeah.
He doesn't have John Harbaugh on the sidelines. That offensive line, those two tight ends, that defense, and Derrick Henry. Does he have that?
Right.
Does he have what Minnesota has on offense and defense? No, he doesn't have that. Tua's not your problem. Your problem is you don't build right around
his durability is the problem, though. That's is the problem. The durability. Sure. Yeah.
Listen, his durability can be solved. Just don't be stupid, dude. Play like you played 2 years ago. Get rid of the damn ball. And guess what, Miami Dolphins? Build a running game. Holy crap, if he can turn around and hand it off and they've got to worry about it, you keep Tua clean, bro. What a concept.
That's a secret sauce, right?
The Super Bowl throwing 7 passes. 7 passes.
Yeah, okay? It's frustrating. It
really is.
If guys like us, can figure it out, I don't know why they can't figure this out. It's amazing to me. Last question here. We'll let you get out of here, Big O. We don't want to take too much of your time.
Manning couldn't throw 10 yards. The worst quarterback to ever win the Super Bowl. And that's when people tell you, oh, you need a quarterback that wins big games. What the hell are you talking about? You need an offensive and defensive line and running game. The quarterback just needs to be a facilitator. No quarterback is going to carry your team, dude. If you can't block and you can't run and you can't defend, they don't do that stuff. That's why Mahomes was on his ass, because they couldn't block. So he couldn't win. And the Dolphins have been chokers and haven't won in the postseason and against big teams forever. That's not a Tua thing.
Yes. No, and I agree with you. And I just like to make that clear because I sometimes hear the Tua stuff, and it's only question is the durability. That's it. If you have him 16, 17 games, you're gonna go in good places, especially if the line's holding up. But last thing, we talk about McDaniel leaving. Do you see a world where Greer's not back next year, where just things have to go upside down?
Yeah, of course, because everything hasn't worked out. So I can understand that. I can't defend it as much as I like what he's done on the talent side. I think he's the best we've had for decades now in finding talent. But because of the coaching snafus and the mistakes on who to keep and who to let go and all that, I can definitely see it.
Yeah.
But why this offseason threw me completely off.
Oh, it did too. It's the same here to us. Yeah.
The puzzle just doesn't make sense. If your job is really on the line, you didn't do anything to save your job. You're not. And you're currently making your team worse because you're getting rid of your best corner. And now you're going to get rid of, actually your most reliable pass catcher.
Jonnu Smith, yeah.
Because Waddle and Tyreek drop.
Do you think he ends up getting traded?
Passes. It drives me crazy.
You think Jonnu ends up getting traded? Or he's staying? If you got...
I'm thinking the Jalen Ramsey stuff might open stuff up that maybe, you can give him a contract. But if you trade him, don't tell me you're competing and all that kind of stuff. And, the fact that you even considered trading him, that's scary, dude. That's just scary. He's not going to break the bank. He's going to ask you for 10, 12 million.
What are you getting, a 5th round pick in return? I mean, not much.
Fifth, 6th rounder. Yeah. Really getting a 6 to a 5th. If he plays that BS, that stuff. You're not getting something that's going to make a difference when you have something that can make a difference.
Right. It's listen, if Zach Sealer is traded, that might create a horror, but at the same time, relief that they're not doing anything and they plan to not do anything. But I'm not rooting for it.
Jonnu and Zach are different levels. Jonnu will hurt you, but Zach will devastate your defense if you lose him. Jonnu, you could probably get by with NWI doing the underneath stuff, running 11 personnel, but you're not getting by without Zach Sealer on defense. That's for sure. So
3 rookies and a couple of scrap heapers.
Yeah.
That won't be good.
But we had the argument last night. There is an argument. If you're really thinking you're not competing this year, you talk about the value being high. I would never do it, but not this year at least. But
they have to put the facade up.
Yeah.
Because Nobody wants McDaniel back next year.
Wow.
That's why this whole thing just stinks to high heaven.
So what? Oh, I don't get rid of him then. Just
do anything to help the man save his job. He knows that.
Yeah.
You know that.
He's a sitting duck.
You're not really going to do anything this year, and you're both chalking up this season. You say, no, you guys will be fine. We'll bring you guys back next year.
Yeah.
It does not make the Dolphin Nation will revolt if you have a bad season and you bring back McDaniel. If you do not make the playoffs again and you bring back McDaniel, the Dolphin Nation will have people that won't renew.
And they'll say the same thing about Greer, though. You know that, whether you like him or not, they'll say the same thing.
Yeah, but the GM won't affect it nearly as much as the head coach because you watch him every week, dude. And really, again, you can hate Chris Greer. Here are the facts. Okay? If you had a real coach last year that can prepare your teams, that can get the plays in on time for the quarterback so he can adjust with whatever coverages is out there, because sometimes he doesn't even have a time because the play comes out and you got to set, and whatever's there, that's it. Sometimes players don't even know a position they're in. That, again, sets Tua back. Okay, you don't have a running game, all that kind of stuff. So why are you going to keep doing this kind of stuff? It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
I thought they should have got rid of him then this year. That would have made sense. Just started, this has been the perfect time to transition with a new coach, this kind of draft.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
That's another mistake. So
he's gone by week 10.
Also, you think we come back to Spain? Oh, wait, if we come back,
dog and pony show, and Weaver will be the guy by week 10, I believe.
So you're ended here, Big O. Percentage. We come back from Madrid, Spain. Percentage. I have to always have a percentage on the show. Mike McDaniel's no longer the head coach when we come back from Spain. Is
90%.
Woo!
Whoa.
Big O. Banging the table. This is why I love Big O. He gives you his opinion, he bangs the table, and he has conviction.
How
you need to talk to Greer for some conviction now, Big O.
How do you continue with any of this?
Yeah.
You cannot continue with this mess. The guy is so unorganized. It's baffling how unorganized he is. So that will not prepare. This guy had a quarterback next to him for 3 years, and he had no idea he could play. So if you had a real coach that can prepare your team, prepare your quarterback, get plays in on time, and just coach everybody up with the same talent last year, do you not win 3 to 5 more games?
At least to get you into the playoffs, the 1 or 2 that will take.
One thing.
So the only thing that's on Greer is that he should have hired a better head coach. But the current head coach was given enough talent to win more games last year. The current head coach was given more talent to win games the prior year. The current head coach was given more talent to win games the prior year to that. Even Flo was given more talent in his final year when he opens the season and loses the first 7 games. And then he wins the games against the shitty teams on the back end. And that's why he lost his job, besides, going against everything that they wanted and all that kind of stuff. But again, this is part of the game, dude. You know what I mean? These are people that are not getting the job done. The bottom line, they're just not coaching.
There was talent on the field, but I do think it was constructed wrong. I think, and you admitted that they built it the wrong way, outside in instead of inside out.
You had a real head coach, an offensive mind would have had a better backup.
To me, it comes as simple as this: if he hired McDaniel, he should go with him. If he hired him, because you got Flores, because
no problem with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And here's the thing, though.
But if he survives,
then he did. Okay,
tell you.
So
that's if he survives, that tells you something different.
Yeah, you made me think with that. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. The only way you can explain it that makes sense for me that Stephen Ross would consider, right? That it's the only way it would make sense. And I think Greer. The other problem is, and this is, I know we say we keep any, but Big O, I could talk with you for hours on this.
True.
How did they meet Brian Flores and think he was a good person for a tank season? Like, that's the other problem.
I don't think they knew, but the sad part is why didn't you look at the history of all the idiots that come off the Belichick tree? They all think
bad
Belichick
history
about being
bad
Belichick,
history,
and you went and hired another idiot from the Belichick tree, and that's where you screwed up. Unfortunately, again, that falls. I the talent part I really like, but then some of that other stuff has kind of, obviously muddied the entire picture, and that's why, as much as I like the guy talent-wise, I can never argue with any of you guys on that. I'll argue to kingdom come on Tua.
No, you won't get any argument here. Tua's good enough.
Me for thinking he's an athlete. He's got to stop and play like regular statues. Just play back there and get rid of the football, and then he'll be fine. But if you don't build in front of him what you're supposed to build, like any quarterback, you're not going to get anywhere.
And that ultimately could cost Chris Greer his job. That if it does happen, that ultimately, I think that's a good way to end it. Big O, again, we could go on here for hours, man. I hope you enjoyed your time here. I hope we can do it again sometimes. Thank everybody in the chat. Guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Maybe we hit the 2K here with Big O, and hit that thumbs up and leave a comment in the video section. Big O, on the way out, man, tell them what you got going on, man, at the Big O Radio Show.
You can follow us YouTube, the Big O Radio Show. Okay, I don't only talk Dolphins; we talk all sports, live, Bitcoin. So I go all over the place. So it's a show that it's a
great show,
talk show. It's a live talk show, all that good stuff. You can follow me on X at Big O Show, and then all the other ones, Threads and everything else. Show is all the Big O Show and the other ones. So Big O Radio Show, Instagram, Threads.
Cap says unblock him. Cap for life.
all that crap. So thank you all. If you can follow us, I appreciate it.
Hey, make sure you follow him. Big O's been doing this for a while, and like you see it on this show, you might agree or disagree, but he's going to tell you unfiltered the truth and how it is, and we appreciate that. We'll be back next week. Big O, thank you, Jason and myself. We're out. Fins up, everybody. Take care. Have a nice evening. And let's go Panthers. Panthers, let's get it done. All right. Good night, everybody.